It is time for another episode of Under Pressure, and I'm super excited to be joined with Brian Howie, director, author, podcaster. You do it all, sir. You're also the founder of PodFather. So thank you so much for joining Under Pressure.
Thanks for having me. This is a nice studio. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? Who designed the studio?
A very smart team other than me.
So, Brian, if you would, give us a little bit of your background. How'd you get to this point?
When I was in college, I wanted to write the great American novel. And when I got out of college, I realized I didn't have the talent to write the great American novel. So I started writing screenplays because they were a little shorter and a little more in line with my skill set. Sold a couple, but they didn't get made. They didn't get turned into movies. And so I'm like, well, who gets to make those decisions? And so people are like, oh, you need to be a producer. Started to be a producer. Producing became too collaborative for me. Well, how do you get more creative control? You need to be a director. And so I kind of worked my way through this sort of showbiz chain, for years and years. And then eventually I became an author, and I became, for lack of a better term, the talent. As a podcaster about 10 years ago, I really liked the medium. I really liked the intimacy of it. I really liked the freedom to do whatever I want. After being in New York and LA, sort of showbiz circles for a long, long time, both of those places are where I like to say no happens. No happens a lot, no matter how good your idea is. And so I worked my way through it. And eventually when I got to podcasting, some of your audience might know who Adam Carolla is.
Yeah.
Adam came to me and he's like, how come you don't have a podcast? And I said, I don't know how to do a podcast. And he took the hard parts out of it for me, let me be successful. Eventually, that's how we founded this business, PodFather, doing the same thing for other people and letting people sort of share their voices and their messages and grow their audiences.
That's awesome. And you hear it all the time that we're in a medium that's so saturated. You almost see so many comments like they should make podcast equipment a little more expensive. Mm-hmm. So what is your goal with PodFather?
I want to give everybody the opportunity, and that's a little bit of a myth. So podcasting has plateaued a little bit, that there's more good podcasts now, because a lot of them, there used to be a number that, there's 20 million podcasts. There really aren't. There's 20 million people who have started podcasts, even down to somebody recorded, hey, grandma, and that counts as a podcast. There's about 400,000 what the powers that be, Apple, Spotify, consider to be active podcasts, 400,000. Well, there were 400,000 2 years ago. So the medium is rewarding those who are confident in it, consistent at it, want to do it. That the level of consistent podcasts has gone up. The overall podcasting is not, but I never want the barriers to entry to get in the way of somebody being able to share their voice. And the barriers to entry, which we have discovered, are that there are not places to record. It's really hard to set it up in your own house. And there are not people to help you, like I said, take away the hard parts. 92% of people who try and start their own podcast, edit, produce it, distribute it, do not make it past 10 episodes. I knew that statistic going in. We're a little bit like Dry Bar, where the women go to blow dry their hair. They're fully capable of blow drying their own hair, but it's not nicer if somebody does it. So by taking away the barriers to entry, we think we're able to build a community of voices and personalities and a collective audience that can sort of share all messages and bring people together.
And if you find something you're passionate about, it doesn't matter what the topic is. You can go a long, long way. It could be about paint drying, and you could have a successful podcast.
That is really true. The things that drive a good podcast are passion and curiosity. And if you're passionate about something and you're curious, meaning you are having these conversations anyway, it doesn't feel like a chore to do. I just did my 504th week in a row. 10 years in a row of doing my own podcast, 10 years. People are like, how do you keep doing it? I'm like, I talk about this stuff anyway. It's just one conversation a week I choose to record. And so we want to tap into that and understand our podcasters. Who is the audience you're trying to reach? What are you trying to get out of doing a podcast? What do you want your audience to get out of listening? So we can sort of help land the plane and guide people. You brought up the niche thing. We have some really niche podcasts. When we first started our business, we had a podcast. It was called Big Yellow Podcast. It was a school bus driver podcast.
Really?
And he's like, well, there's 300,000 school bus drivers. That's a giant audience. We have ones that are only about a specific Frenchie connection, just about French bulldogs. They don't want to talk about anybody else. We have a podcast called The Sizzle. It's just about bacon. He doesn't want to talk about anything. But there's 50,000 people around the world who are equally passionate about bacon. And the world's a smaller place now. And so our goal for all of our podcasts is to cast out a net, no matter how niche it is, and try and find a way to get 50,000 people to listen to that podcast. And it is doable.
And I love how you said that, because Under Pressure, I'm trying to make it a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So now I know in our network, we got some school bus drivers. We got some people that just love French Bulldogs. Who doesn't love French Bulldogs?
So some podcasts are very broad, and they occasionally go niche, and some are very niche, and they occasionally go broad. You have the freedom that, my main podcast is The Great Love Debate. It is love, dating, relationships. It is the one thing that everybody in the world can have a conversation has experience with, has perspective. That's a little bit of an advantage, because I can bring in anybody to talk about it with the same level of sort of passion and curiosity. I've done food podcasts, politics podcasts, and all of them lend themselves to, I want everybody to be a part of a conversation. That being said, if you have a podcast that is really about expertise, or we have a podcast that we do in our Scottsdale location. The guy is a podiatrist, and that is his audience. There might be some foot fetishists listening in, but
there are a lot of foot fetishes listening.
That is his thing, and get back to the school bus driver. He initially was targeting school bus drivers, but then it got to administrators, parents, teachers, and it got broader. Some people like to learn things about things they have no idea about. And so you'd be surprised how you can get an audience with stuff like that.
And speaking of your podcast, would you consider yourself like a love guru?
No, I don't think. Time Magazine called me a dating enthusiast. And that means that I really like talking about this stuff. I don't think there's anything as an expert. I always say, as a podcaster, my job is to raise the questions, not give the answers. That being said, through the act of raising the questions, I've done the live version of that show 450 times in 13 countries. So you raise the questions enough times, you're going to get some of the answers, but it's not a problem that anybody's going to solve.
And do you mind me asking, are you yourself single?
Yes, but it's only 10 o'clock.
That is true. The day is young.
I get asked that a lot. Like, what is that? And I'm like, part of one of the keys to getting into a good relationship is get out of a bad one. So just because somebody's single, maybe they had a recognition, like, I'm not always single.
I didn't think so. Brian's like, damn it, dude.
I'm not always single. But there's some people have been married for 40 years, and I don't even think they like each other.
That's very, very true.
There's a lot of nuance to it. So, as I've aged a little bit, that podcast has evolved from more sort of dating to more of like communication, confidence, how to keep good relationships, how to get I've aged, the audience has aged, and we really take a little bit more of a serious look at it.
And you could equate that to sports anyway. Wayne Gretzky, not the greatest coach. One of the greatest players of all time, not a great coach.
Bill Belichick never played football. He doesn't mean he can't coach Tom Brady.
Exactly.
You can be an oncologist and not have cancer. Like there's a lot of nuance to this. Now, if it was a cooking podcast and somebody doesn't know how to cook, like that's a little bit of a different thing. But I think everybody is equal when it comes to at least the love landscape. I think we're all searching for answers. I think we're all healing from trauma. I think we all have hope. And so that is kind of leveling the playing field. When I first started that podcast, I kind of put myself a little bit above the fray. I was almost like Jerry Springer, and you guys are messed up, kind of men against the women. But the more I became more authentic and more vulnerable and more honest about it, the better the show got. So, because I'm the audience. I'm also the audience here. So, worked out.
And what do you think one of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to dating or starting a new relationship is?
People think they have a type. I always say that if you're over 30 and you're still single, you have no type. Your type's not working out for you. And the answers almost always lie outside of your comfort zone or what you think you like or your patterns. You have to break patterns to sort of get somewhere. Yeah.
And I'm terrified that if I ever have to date again, because I'm in a relationship right now, I was married already. That didn't work. Got divorced. But I don't think I've ever actually dated. Obviously, my first wife, we went on a couple dates. It worked out to a point. My girlfriend, kind of the same thing. Like, I think I would be terrified to date between online dating, just the amount of different ways people meet now.
I always say dating starts with a conversation. And you go up to Home Depot and you ask somebody a question, you get an answer. That's a conversation. We have to be we're a little bit afraid to engage with each other face-to-face anymore. People always want to engage first through technology, a phone, an app, a text, something like that. Being able to I always say the best dating site is Earth. And people need to, not be afraid of approaching, not be afraid of being approached, not being afraid of being rejected, not being afraid of being hurt. Fear, what I've learned, people say, what have you learned in doing this? Fear is the obstacle to most people finding a relationship. Fear of 100 different things. And you know, the juice is worth the squeeze. You kind of got to go for it.
I love that saying.
But, you know, virtual technology really is a real challenge. You can get 80% of a pretty engaging experience with virtual without ever having to ask a girl out, getting rejected, getting your heart broken, whatever. It's sort of this combination of video games and porn.
Yeah.
It's here in real time. And a lot of those people are like, this is not as good, but it's good enough. And that's dangerous. That's the end of the human race.
And that's why you touched on the best place for dating is actually on earth, like in front of somebody, because there's also catfishing. People put a persona, or it's what they want you to see online. And it's so much easier to put that out there as opposed to if you're face to face.
And even when you are face to face, you know, most times for the first 90 days, you're only out with their publicist. You know, and you're not really learning. And it takes some time to work through the ick and work through the muck and get to know each other and all this stuff. You know, we've had to deal with, over 10 years of doing the Great Love Debate, we've had to deal with Me Too, which has taken dating out of the workplace, which is where most people used to date.
Yeah.
We've had to deal with the rise of technology. We've had to deal with COVID, which shut a lot of things down. We've had to deal with politics coming into, people want to know where you stand on X, Y, and Z before you even order the edamame. Like right now, there's a lot of blurring of gender roles, rise of the independent woman. A lot of things have come up over the last decade that having these conversations around our show, both when we do it live around the world and also on our podcast, you know, it's challenges in real time. So that's why nobody's ever going to really kind of solve the puzzle.
Yeah, and COVID was twofold, because not only did it stop people from dating, some people got stuck together, and they're like, oh, I guess maybe we really do love each other. Or it's like, no, this is absolutely not going to happen, and now we're stuck.
A lot of people, you know, before COVID, they're like, you know what, I'm happy with my Netflix and my dog and my wine. I don't want to date again. And then they got to see what that looked like. Some people are like, I'm fine, I don't want to go back out. But a lot of people are like, you know what, I miss that nervous interaction of being on a date. I like this. And so, you know, the people who are excited about dating and hopeful, I always say, you know, the Great Love Debate is not about love, it's about hope. And if you understand that you only need one, and there are possibilities everywhere, every single day of your life, as long as you leave the house, you know, there's opportunities out there and there's possibilities.
And not to get too mushy, but do you believe in a soulmate, or do you believe two people work on a relationship and that is the best way to have longevity?
Both. You know, people are like, why don't you get married when you're young? I'm like, I didn't know who I was at 30. I'm supposed to know who you are. I think you have to respect and support each other's journeys and the ups and downs. And the couples that do that tend to navigate life changes. You go from husband, wife to mom and dad. That's a much different dynamic than boyfriend, girlfriend. And so you have to understand how to communicate and how to still date and how to still be together. Like all of it is understanding that where we are today when we say I do and happily ever after may not be where we are in 15 years. And you have to respect each other's journeys, and you have to sort of grow with each other, and hopefully you grow together and grow closer.
Yeah, that is a big thing. When parents have their kids finally and they're in a relationship, everything was just me and you, me and you, me and you. And now it's like them, and then they have no more time for themselves. Like you said, the date night. I mean, you should try to make that, what'd you say, like a once a month thing, or kind of however works for
whatever
you?
You got to schedule it. But that goes apart, and then before you know it, you're sleeping in separate bedrooms, and then you're divorced.
I also read that too. There's a lot of people that actually like to sleep in separate beds. I thought that only happened in like 50s TV shows.
Oh, it happens. People snore, people toss and turn, people like cold, people like hot, people like to sleep with the kids. There's a million factors,
I mean, you ever hear any success stories of people sleeping in separate bedrooms? I've even heard on vacation,
I don't know.
Get two different hotel rooms.
I know a couple that has, they're married, they have separate apartments. He never gave up his, he never gave up hers, and they feel like every time they're together, it's special. They're married, and they trust each other, and they understand this, and this works for them. Like, you have to decide what works for you.
That is the biggest thing, but I can't imagine having separate apartments.
I know that's not for me. That's not for you. But
out?
You'd be surprised what makes it work for people. You know, I don't know.
Knock this mic over. So, Brian, if you could create, I know we wanted to talk about planet Earth, and that's the best place to meet somebody. If you could create a dating app, what would be that one feature that would separate?
That's a good question that I have answered, and somebody's willing to take this $1 billion. The reason why dating apps don't work is because the men are sending 36 times more unresponded to messages than the women are. 36 times, which means they're not getting the opportunity. An app that incentivized engagement, especially by the woman, if you at least answered and you get sort of, whether it's monetarily or that if you say hi, if you meet them, if you go on a date, if you give them a phone number, like everything that your incentive for her to work through the awkwardness. And because a lot of women are like, if he doesn't say the magic words right off the bat, or he's not completely engaging, they're on to the next. And the men are like, if I just get a chance to meet them face to face. And again, I'm not talking about like a safety issue, or whatever, but
100%.
dating the way we used to, you used to be able to do that there was a dating app that somehow forced people to push the conversation forward. Like maybe you don't get to move on to the next person unless you give this person an opportunity. Something like that. That's where the answer lies.
That is brilliant.
And here you go. Run with that, folks.
No, you should keep that. I like how you said the incentive to incentivize it as well.
People need to be incentivized to work through an uncomfortable, like, it's not always going to be perfect. The banter isn't always going to flow, especially on an app.
Yeah.
You can misinterpret text. They send the wrong emoji or whatever. Like, that you got to stick with it for a minute.
Yeah.
Even if it's like you need to spend 30 seconds, 5 engagements with somebody before you move on to the next. That might not be for everybody, but I think the people that engage with an app like that, it'll work for them.
And just spitballing here, then you can have like restaurants partner up with
No
the
doubt.
app, and then you can get yourself dinners, maybe vacations.
Totally, that we're going to be like, you guys want to go away together, we're going to give you 20% off Southwest Airlines. Have at it, Southwest Airlines.
I really don't want to give away this idea.
I
now.
know. I've been talking about it.
We should go.
I don't have the energy,
together.
but somebody kick me back some money. Take the idea.
That's so brilliant.
Yeah.
And speaking of airlines, what is your favorite airline then? Which one do we want to partner with in this app that we're coming out with now? It's official, Brian. It's happening.
Emirates.
Emirates?
Something.
I'm not as traveled as you. I'm a Delta guy.
Internationally. All the domestic airlines have their challenges, but probably Southwest if we're gonna Delta. But the separation between the good airlines and the bad airlines has never been greater. It takes longer. Here's a not so fun fact. It takes longer to fly from San Diego to New York in 2025 than it did in 1973. And if somebody told you in 1973 that in 50 years, how long will it take to fly from California to New York, you would have thought it'd been like Jetsons.
Yeah,
in 2 seconds.
100%.
It's slower. The planes are no faster. The fuel conserving makes them slow it down. Air traffic is more. Landing patterns are more. It takes longer to fly than it did 50 years ago.
If we dropped that nugget of trivia on people, they would definitely get that wrong. There's
I
no
know.
way I would say, yeah.
Planes are no faster. They're no faster. They're the same. The same engines that they used for 50 years, and all those other factors have slowed it down.
And I mean, just traveling in general is just such a nuisance. And it used to be a privilege when people used to go to the airlines, used to dress up. I mean, you could also smoke cigarettes on an airplane. That might be a little much.
Yeah, but you still, when you fly, Asia Airlines, they're treating you, you get the hot towel, even in coach, like you're getting fed, you're getting all the stuff. Like, we really do it on the cheap here,
Yeah. And I was thinking, when you're first meeting somebody, let me know if you think this is a good idea. Maybe meeting them for a week or two, go on like a mini vacation, like a mini 3-day vacation just to see if you can instantly vibe, or do you think that is a dumpster fire?
No, I love it. If you can travel with somebody, that's a lot. That's really, no
PR right there.
No,
that PR is not going to save you.
Challenges. And, that's funny you said that. I said to a girl I dated a long time, I go, you're the best traveler I've ever been with. And that said a lot about her. She was respectful. She looked good. She was on time. She packed well. She was organized. Like, that also was in aspects of her life that I learned pretty quickly. Yeah.
That's good. And I'm not the most responsible person. Over the years, when you get to know me, you'll know that. But when it comes to traveling, I become like, all of a sudden, I'm so detail-oriented. I know where everyone's passport is. I know where everyone's ID is. Tickets. It's
having
like,
one
who is
screw
this
up
person?
traveling, or you lose something, or you forget something, or whatever, it ruins a trip. And you don't want that. It's too much time and energy and the positivity of the experience that you're losing. Yeah.
And now back to dating real quick. You've probably been on tons of first dates. Have you ever had such a horrific first date experience that you were just looking at your watch and you're like, I gotta get out of here. I can't even believe this is real life.
Surprisingly, no. And I haven't been on as many first dates as you think, because I usually am like, I usually ask out somebody I know pretty well.
Okay.
I'm one of those. I was on a date once, So this is her worst date probably, and I was the date she was talking, and I was paying attention. I was very nervous, and I was eating. We were at some sort of Asian fusion restaurant, and I ate a big bite of something that it tasted like potato salad or something. It was a golf ball-sized piece of wasabi. I swallowed the whole thing down. I basically imploded. Like my body, I couldn't breathe. She tiptoed out. She just left me. Thought I was having a seizure, I don't need this, bailed. She's probably telling that story now. I went out this weirdo and he melted down in front of me. She didn't know what happened and I couldn't talk.
She didn't even
she didn't call a paramedic, nothing.
Well, you know what? Good.
She left on me. So I learned that lesson. Good. Yeah.
So I was at an Asian place. First time I ever had edamame, right? Mm-hmm. Like an idiot, I didn't know you have to take the stuff out.
Well, you don't have to, but some people eat a banana with the peel on it. But yeah,
that's madness.
It's not
I was eating the whole thing until my date goes, "Where are you putting the skin?" I was like, "What do you mean? Where am I putting the skin?" She goes, "Dude, you're eating all of that."
Yep.
I did. I haven't had a stomach ache like that in forever.
Yep.
So that was definitely one of those whoopsie moments.
That's right.
So over the years, how many people do you think you've helped with their relationship?
Oh my God, the show, and I won't say
the show. I should say the show, the Great Love Debate.
Dozens and dozens of couples who have gotten engaged from meeting at one of our live shows just because they met, who are in happy relationships. Relationships who got back together because they heard something that somebody said on our show. Countless. We have probably helped more people than people who are actual quote unquote dating coaches or gurus or whatever. The very act of having these conversations and raising these questions and seeking these answers collectively helps so many people, including me.
And I love that because so many people have a similar goal in mind when they're listening to your show. So right off the bat, people could connect with that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, this is what I want. I want X, Y, Z. You check this box, you check that box.
It's funny. I had two friends of mine from college came to my live show in New York City. Both had been married for 20 years. One of them watched the whole show and all this stuff. One of them said, "Oh my God, thank God I'm married. It just seems terrible out there." The other one said, "I would kill it out there now. This environment suits my skill set better." So, you never know.
And how is it doing those live shows? I hope to one day start doing that.
Crazy.
It's rowdy.
Go to greatlovedebate.com. You'll see a video of what it's like. We have celebrities. It is fun, town hall style, hundreds of people. We have done it in Sydney and Hong Kong and Tel Aviv and 150 cities in America. We have toured it to comedy clubs, music venues, whatever. It is a rowdy, fun, crazy 90 minutes where we're trying to solve the disconnect between the men and the women in that particular city. So we go to Seattle and we're figuring out what is it about Seattle that is the same, what is it about unique, and what do we to do collectively better. And it is it's a fun time.
Favorite city that you had a live show in? I know you have to have that one that just stands
Tel
out.
Aviv, oddly. Or maybe not. I never thought I'd go there. I'm not Jewish, so I wasn't like Tel Aviv. I got booked at a theater out there. The Israeli culture is built around debate. They are very comfortable having animated discussions without hating each other. And so the level of intelligence and the difference, and some of the Israeli girls wanted to date Palestinian guys and their parents wouldn't let them. And there was a lot of nuance to it that I was shocked at. There, Sydney, Australia was really good. But if you talk about domestically, doing the shows in New York, Boston, places like that where you just have big personalities and ballsy men and women, it's fun.
As someone who...
LA's a little too phony. I've done a lot of shows in LA at the Hollywood Improv. A little bit, people are not honest on the mic because they treat it a little bit like an audition. I like authentic people. We're recording this in South Florida. South Florida's rough to do these shows. A lot of people are angry.
I don't know why.
Because the women are like, the men only want to chase young girls, and the men are like, the women are all gold diggers. There's a real animosity in certain places between the men and the women. San Francisco's hard. Philadelphia's hard. Chicago's fun. Like, we've done it all over. Dallas is fun, but you never know.
As someone who grew up in New York for the first 21 years of my life, I could definitely see how New York could be that vibe. All of a sudden, you have hecklers at the Great Love Debate show. It's like, how?
It's awesome. Where in New York are you from?
I grew up in the Bronx.
Okay, in Westchester County. You have big personalities. I do a show in Seattle or San Jose or Denver even. The men are very socially awkward. The women are too dominant. They have too big personalities. They're too independent. They're too feminist. That vibe. You need that equal energy to really make the show work. And New York always good for that.
And I do like how you said that with the dominant personalities, and some women are more dominant now than men in certain areas. When it comes to traditional dating norms, do you think they're just completely thrown out the window now?
No, they're not. And I think people think societally we may have changed. Physiologically, we're still wired as boys and girls. Mm-hmm. He still wants to ask her out. She still wants to. Overwhelmingly, this is the case. I had John Gray on my podcast. He wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Like he's like, we think a lot of things has changed, and the women are very powerful and they're very independent. But at the end of the day, the thing that has the best chance to work is really the way we're wired. That he asks her out, he pays, and most people want that. The men want to pay, the women want the men to pay. The women want the men to ask her out, the men want to ask her out. Like, there are exceptions and all these kind of things, but generally that is the way we're wired, and that has the best chance of succeeding.
I mean, that's the way I would do it as well. If I ever went out there and dated again, I'd want to pay for the first date.
No doubt.
I'm still a server right now until this, Under Pressure blows up
with
your help.
Yeah.
But every single time I drop that check off, I'll give it to the guy. Yeah. I'd never mean to insult anybody. It's never backfired on me yet, and I would never want someone to feel slighted, be like, hey, why are you giving them the check?
And the women, I get offended, and when the women say, should I offer? I'm like, no. When you offer, it tells him one of three things, none good. It either says to him, this isn't a date, I don't want to owe you anything, or we're not going to do this again. He's not looking for your 65 books. He's looking for your appreciation and your thank you. That's what he cares out of it. As long as you're like, thank you, and I appreciate you doing that, blah, blah, we're good here. He's not like, you had the Caesar salad with the chicken, give me $40. It's not like that. And I think the overwhelming amount, that's the one chance that we still get to be the boy.
Yeah.
Let us pay for dinner. Let us hold the door.
Please let us ask. Take this credit card.
It's hard for guys that are, 35. I don't know how old you are.
38.
A lot of women who are 25, they don't want you to hold the door for them. They think you're weak. You think I'm weak? Like, so there's a lot of things. So the 38-year-old guy, he might date somebody who's 38. He might date somebody who's 23. And there's just wildly different thing. A 23-year-old doesn't want to be called girl. A 65-year-old does.
Yeah.
It's very strange. Yeah.
I'll say young lady to an older woman. She's like, stop it. Lights up.
I got called young man the other day by a guy who I think was younger than me. I loved it.
And that is the unfortunate thing in our society at times. If you hold the door open for somebody, like you said, they'll be offended when I'll hold the door open for you. If I didn't know you, I'm holding the door because I feel that's polite.
I got the door held for me the other day. It was very luxurious. I just walked in.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
Say God bless you when someone sneezes.
No doubt.
You don't have to be rude about it.
Yep.
So what's coming up next for you, Brian?
We're doing the Great Love Debate, meaning we're doing the Great Love Debate on a cruise. Yeah. So
can I get in on that?
Yeah, we haven't done it. I've been asked to do it a while. Part of me is like, do I want to get stuck on a cruise with 1,000 people who know who I am? I don't know if I want that. But we're doing that. We're continuing to do the live show. We just did the 500 show. We're here at Pod Populi. We're trying to grow podcasts and get as many voices, personalities, brands, businesses in here to sort of share their message. And we love it. So
I would love to get back on a cruise. I've only been on one cruise before, and it was a Disney cruise, and it was actually very, very nice. All things considered, I was like,
it's nice. A lot of kids,
going to be kids
nice.
Overload? But they had something called rotational dining that I thought was really neat, that you have the same server every single time you eat out, even at the different restaurants. So by the second night, they know what you want to drink. Good. They kind of know what you're allergic to, what you're not allergic to. So yes, I would love to get on the cruise.
All right.
So as someone just starting out in the podcast world, you've been doing this for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
What's the biggest piece of advice you can bestow on me?
Understand that it's a conversation. Don't make it too edited. Don't overthink it. The audience needs to feel like you, your guests, whatever, are out at brunch and they have a seat at the table. Sometimes a phone may ring. Sometimes a dog may bark. Sometimes you mispronounce something or whatever. Don't be too polished. Don't overthink it. Understand that. And don't be too video-centric. The overwhelming number of people are going to consume this by listening. Podcasting is a multitasking medium. Video has its place in podcasting. It absolutely can help promote and whatever, but it is also the least engaging form of video content. You're competing with Netflix and skateboard videos and all kinds of stuff. So understand that people are listening to you, and a voice in their head is a very, very powerful thing, but an authentic voice is more powerful. It shouldn't sound like a book on tape. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't sound like a webinar. It should sound like an authentic conversation that people want to be a part of.
Thank you very much. And I love this because I have a background in radio, but it was top 40, so it was all quick get in, get out, 2 minutes of content. And I was like, this is driving me nuts. I used to beg. I was like, people are consuming long form content. It's not like they're not there. Why don't we adjust?
It takes reps. And finding your podcast voice probably took me 6 months to really understand what my show is about. And I had some top producers who I did not listen to. Listen to your producers. And you know, don't overthink it. Where your show may be at 200 episodes may be different from where it is at 8 episodes. And there's nothing wrong with that. Your audience is coming along for the journey. You are the host. You are the straw that stirs the drink. They're interested in you. And don't be afraid to do it solo once in a while. Mm-hmm. Don't be so guest reliant. Understand that the audience is connecting with you because you care about the same things they do. You have perspective like they do. You're passionate about things they are, and build that community. A podcast audience is a community.
And I know you were going to build on Pod Populi as well. Yeah. So do you have goals of expansion? I know you got a couple of remote locations.
We have remote.
Right?
We can record people all over the world. We monetize people all over the world. But we have cities. We have we're in half a dozen cities now. But we're looking to go to Dallas and Denver, and we're about to open in LA. Like places like that. We are always looking for opportunities. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Brian. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for bringing me on to be part of the Pod Populi team.
This is great. Proud of you.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.